this is a very young Oregon team relative to last year, where you had guys that were returning for an opportunity to go play for a national championship, like Jeff Bossa, like Terrence Ferguson, amongst others. Now you've got a team that does have some upperclassmen, but really has a bunch of guys who we're all excited to watch, not just because we're all missing and are excited to watch real football where we don't know the outcome again, but because you're excited about, or we, frankly, are excited about guys that are really talented but haven't had a chance to see the field yet, and you think about what they can be. Well, you don't know what's inside Schrodinger's box and the status of the cat till you open the box. Well, next Saturday, we get to start opening the box. But first, let's talk about the important returners. Because if Oregon's going to make the playoff this year, particularly early in the season, in the first half, where they do have a couple of tough games, you can't be relying on young guys who will have played one or two or half a game of college football. You can't be relying on them exclusively if you want to go out there and play the way this Oregon team's capable of. I mean, for goodness sake, last year Oregon had an incredibly veteran quarterback, a very experienced roster, and still struggled early in the season against two teams that it was significantly better than. So I'm especially looking at the first four games here where I expect Oregon to go 4-0. 3 of their first 4 games are at home. But if they're going to win those games comfortably and set up an undefeated showdown with Penn State in Happy Valley on September 27th. Hopefully it's game day. It'll probably end up being Alabama, Georgia, unfortunately. But if that's going to happen, there are 3 veterans that have got to play well. Number 1, Bryce Boettcher. Bryce Boettcher, how best to put this? Did you know he played baseball? Oh man, those jokes, they're never gonna go away. They're gonna be stuck in Oregon football lore forever and ever and ever and ever. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. Anyway, I was about to make a center fielder comparison, and then I just kind of started laughing at that. But Bryce Boettcher is the new Jeffrey Bossa of the defense. I fully expect him to be the signal caller when Tosh Lupoy sends in the defensive play call, a guy who has been around the program for several years, a guy who was Oregon's leading tackler last season. I don't know what kind of world we'd be living in where Oregon's defense is playing well and Bryce Boettcher isn't at least playing well. I don't think he has to go light the world on fire and lead the country in tackles. I think Oregon has enough depth of talent to, not require him to be superhuman and do what Cal Raleigh's trying to do for my beloved Mariners, and that's just will them to the playoff with, his performance basically on his own. I don't think he has to do that. I do think that when you're in a position group that has a lot of youth and not a ton of experience with guys like Jerry Mixon or the 3 redshirt freshmen, Mathudi, Williams, and Platt, those guys are going to have some kind of role in the defense this year, and if they can be playmakers, that would certainly be preferable. Bryce Boettcher's got to be the leader on that side. And, you just need vocal leaders in the huddle. I think that's going to be Bryce. If you remember some of the Ducks versus them games last year, when you went to the fourth quarter, who's the guy in the center of the huddle that everybody's looking to on defense to be that emotional leader? It was Jeffrey Bossa. Why? Because he was a 4th-year Duck and a 3rd-year starter at linebacker who was coming off an all-conference caliber season. Well, Bryce Boettcher is that guy now. This is officially his last year of college football. He's definitely got to play well. So that's veteran number 1. Veteran number 2, and he's new to Oregon, but Isaiah World is so critical. You could put Poncho into this spot as well because he's the organizer. Obviously, he's the center of the offensive line, getting everybody into the right situation and keeping them on the same page. But you can't ever overlook the fact that left tackle is the highest paid position in the offensive line world in the NFL because you're protecting the quarterback's blind side. And I don't know. I kind of know what to expect from Isaiah World. Anytime guys are making a jump in competition level, like if you go watch his film against Mountain West teams, man, he absolutely rolls dudes. I mean, he is big. He is athletic. He does a lot of things well. Jeff Schwartz, I've seen his breakdowns out there, would tell you that he's pretty technically sound as well. In the first 4 games, I don't think he will see anyone as good as Denai Dennis-Sutton for Penn State, a former 5-star who's probably going to replace that Abdul Carter role. I believe Dennis Sutton's the 3rd leading sack guy returning in the Big Ten this year. Number 1, of course, Mateo Uyunglele, 10.5 last year. But, for Dante Moore settling into being Oregon's starting quarterback, in all likelihood, I'm 99% certain that's going to be the case. I think that he is coming. How best to phrase this? You can't give him the demons of his 2023 team at UCLA. The worst part about that UCLA team was the offensive line. It was not the play caller, Chip Kelly. The running backs, they're solid. The receivers, they were okay. They weren't great, but they weren't a disaster. The worst part was the offensive line. And you're trying to give Dante Moore a kind of a new start, a fresh outlook on college football, a new approach. Make it feel like it is the first time he's going out there to start. You can't have him under pressure all the time. Certainly not next Saturday against Montana State. Like, he's got to have the opportunity to settle in and get a fair chance to actually go out and showcase his talents and play the quarterback position rather than playing survivor ball back there as he kind of was a couple of years ago at UCLA. So anybody along the offensive line could fit, and I know that Poncho is really important, but I don't feel like I've talked about Isaiah World as much as Poncho in recent weeks, and those are the 2 most important offensive line spots. And I bet you every GM in college, well, I don't know if they can't all disagree because there are only 2 options. I don't think you would have unanimous agreement on what's more important, your left tackle or your center. And I feel good about those guys. But Isaiah World is not a veteran for Oregon, but a veteran in college football who has got to be solid for the Ducks to have the sort of success that we're all hoping for this year. The third guy I'm going with here is also on the offensive side of the ball, and it's also Dante Moore driven, and that's Kenyon Sadiq. Early in the year, and probably throughout the entire year, we could see a lot of Kenyon Sadiq. Because do we all know? Obviously, the team knows. I don't even know if the team knows exactly what the wide receiver rotations are going to look like. They could change wildly, right? The wide receiver rotations, the defensive back rotations, heck, some of the defensive line rotations, maybe along the offensive line, those sort of things could get tweaked throughout the year. And by the end of the season, it could look very different from a production standpoint and who's heavily involved and who's getting snaps and who's making plays. It could look different at the end of the year than at the beginning of the year. But tight end is not going to change. And right away, I'm so excited to watch Kenyon Sadiq. I don't know a single person who isn't. He could be setting up for the best tight end season in the history of Oregon football. That is nowhere near hyperbole. And with a receiver room that has no Evan Stewart and no Jerrion Dickey in it, you have a bunch of question marks that I'm excited about. But Sadiq is the one guy that I know right now Dante Moore should be able to rely on. So Boettcher's got to be able to lead the defense. Isaiah World has to protect Dante Moore's blind side. And Kenyon Sadiq has got to be the reliable go-to in key spots and make a couple of those plays that help a quarterback out. You know, the baseball equivalent of a diving catch in the outfield. Or it could just be literally a diving catch on the football field. Like, make one of those plays, help Dante Moore settle in and find that confidence that obviously wasn't always there when he was at UCLA a couple of years ago. So